Joining me now, Michigan's favorite son, Michael Moore, a guy I haven't had a chance to talk to in a long while, but nobody knows both Michigan and the union landscape better than he does. Michael, this race, first of all, welcome back. Good to see you. This race has flipped on its head in the past week. Democrats have gone from, in many cases, despondent to enthused. The excitement's coming from all over the place. What do you make of it?
Everybody should be excited. This was an incredible week, and I think it's going to continue. I think there's going to be one surprise after another in terms of how well Vice President Harris is going to do. This was an excellent move. Joe Biden did the right thing. History will remember him for it. And if it results in us having our first woman president, even better. So, I think it's all great. And I was listening to your conversation with our state party chair there, Ms. Barnes. And let me say this. I'm not frightened by Donald Trump. There's no reason that he should ever go back into the Oval Office again. We live in a very different country now, different from even the 8 years ago when he was first elected. Elected thanks in part to Michigan, because the candidate, the Democratic Party, that bad. The shame is still hanging over me, but as a Michigander, but the candidate and her campaign made a decision in 2016 to not visit Michigan, to not visit Wisconsin. And we lost Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and that was the whole difference right there. And now any analyst that you look at for this year's election says, and Michelle Goldberg wrote an excellent column in the New York Times, where she said, essentially, you lose Michigan, you lose the White House. Critical. We're talking about 300,000 Arab and or Muslim voters in the state of Michigan. Biden won the Arab Muslim vote in Michigan by more than 60% in 2020. The last poll I saw from 2 weeks ago, less than 15% of the Arab Muslim vote in Michigan will vote. At that
we
point,
saw that in the uncommitted vote in the primary, 100,000 people voting, going to a Democratic primary, saying, I would typically be a Democratic voter, but I'm not voting, or I'm registering my frustration with Joe Biden. I will say, after meeting Netanyahu the other day, not presiding over the whatever that was in Congress, Kamala Harris sounded substantially more empathetic toward the cause of Palestinian civilians who are being killed through no fault of their own than Joe Biden had success in doing.
Absolutely. But it's not just empathy, because the Palestinians right now in Gaza don't need empathy. They need a stop. They need a stop to us, you and me, taxpayers here in the United States. We are the bank for Netanyahu and this war. We are funding it. We have armed him. That makes us responsible for the deaths of, nobody knows the number now, but the common number that people say is over 40,000 civilians, many of them children, have been slaughtered with my tax dollars and the armaments that we have sent there. That has to stop. And Biden right away, he knew that he'd made a deal with the wrong guy and probably shouldn't have trusted Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has played him, and Biden hasn't known how to get out. Kamala Harris has a way to get out. She's the new fresh voice, but she also has a history of this sort of thing. The fact that, Ali, just the fact that she did not show up. I was trying to think, when was there a time when the vice president, who is the president of the Senate, and there's a joint session of Congress, doesn't show up? And that doesn't happen. And we've had Tony Blair there, and we've had the Pope. There are other people that come for a joint session. But I went back, actually. I think I found one or two instances in the last 20 years where the president of the Senate didn't show up. What did she do on that day? She went to a sorority meeting in Indianapolis. Okay. That was she was there, by the way. It was a convention of a sorority. But I think Netanyahu got the message that he's not going to be able to play her
Right.
So it will really be up to her. But Ali, I really feel very strongly about this, that she and her vice president she'll pick, who I sincerely hope, I mean, all the people they're talking about are good people.
Yeah.
But Josh Shapiro has not been good on this issue with Gaza. He's been very much against the protests, the pro-Palestinian protests here in the U.S. He's also, weirdly enough, in agreement with certain parts of the educational planks that are in Project 2025. I mean, people should really check into this. The campaign needs to vet him on this. We don't need a J.D. Vance situation that Trump is in now with buyer's remorse. And I think this will hurt Michigan if somebody who's been sort of essentially pro-war on this should not be her vice presidential.
Who's your sense of who it should be? And I ask you this as somebody who knows a lot about the union and worker situation in Michigan. We've got some unions who are still holding out to get more assurances from Kamala Harris. You got a sense of who it should be if you're looking at it from a worker or union perspective?
Okay, just from a personal perspective, Pete Buttigieg, this past year or so, he and his husband moved to the town in Michigan where I live now, where his husband grew up. So he is now an official Michigander, and I think where their place is just a mile or so down the road. Okay, that has nothing to do with how I feel. I feel very good about Pete Buttigieg. In fact, when I saw him on Bill Maher a week or so ago, and he was incredible.
Yeah, it was a very
really
good exchange.
Smart. You know what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yep.
So I think he's good. I think Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, is good. I think, but right away last week I said, what would be wrong with 2 women on the ticket? I mean, why not our governor? We need Michigan. She
says she's staying in Michigan. A lot of people think it'd be a great idea.
Well, we are in desperate times.
Yeah.
And sometimes all of us, if called, need to step forward if we really believe that we're trying to save the democracy.
Well, she's demonstrated an ability to win and cross lines and take on some of the important issues of our time. Michael, good to see you as always. Out of time, but let's continue the conversation. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Michael Moore.
It's good to see you again. Go Canada.
Well, thank you, sir. Michael Moore.